since this video will talk about the years from 2000 to 2009, and 2009 being the last year of the old Giant Stadium. I just wanted to show you a little piece of memorabilia that I have from the old Giant Stadium. This was the section that our family sat in for all those years when we went to Giant games, section 127. Section 127, row 20, seats 1 and 2. And when they knocked down the Giants Stadium, I was able to get this, and every time I look at it, I just think of the good times and the good tailgates and the good memories that we had throughout the years. And it's something that I will keep and cherish forever. And I hope that you enjoy this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Hello, New York Giants fans. We are back again with another video of Ticket Stub Mania here. And today we are going to take a look at the 2000 to 2009 decade for the New York Football Giants. Now, we are starting the video focused on this piece of memorabilia here, and you might be wondering, hey, we were talking about the 2000s, why is he showing us this piece of memorabilia from 1956? Well, it's because I think it's just awesome, and I recently picked it up in the mail. This is a ticket order form for the New York Football Giants from back in 1956, and this is how you would order tickets back in the 50s. They would send you this form. You would fill out your name, your address, everything like that. You would include how many tickets you would want for each game. As you see, all the home games are listed here. You would put the number of tickets, and then you would mail this back to the Giants with your check, and you would have your tickets. Pretty interesting. So this was from the 1956 championship season. I did not have this during my last video, so I wanted to share this so you can kind of take a look at how we have come a long way since this. So pretty cool. So with that being said, today we're going to move on to the 2000s. It was a very good decade for the Giants. Kind of an up and down decade. Anytime you win a Super Bowl in a decade, I consider that a good decade. But we did have some up and down seasons. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right. Our first ticket of the decade is right here, August the 5th, 2000. And that ticket just happens to be the debut of Brian Urlacher, Hall of Famer for the Chicago Bears. So that was his first NFL action of his career against the Giants. Our next preseason game is right here, August the 11th against the Jaguars. Then we have a game against the Jets, preseason game in 2000. And then to wrap up the preseason, we have a home game against the Ravens. And we're looking at $45 for the ticket here in 2000. And that wraps up our preseason. Then we get to the regular season. Our first game is right here against the Cardinals. Then our next game is right here against the Philadelphia Eagles, September the 10th. Our next game is September the 17th against the Chicago Bears. Then September the 24th against the Redskins. October the 1st against the Tennessee Titans. Then we have October the 8th against the Atlanta Falcons. October the 15th against Dallas. October 29th against the Eagles. And as we are about now halfway through the year 2000, if you remember the year 2000, we made it to the Super Bowl. We had a very nice run late, in the season. Unfortunately, this was one of the Super Bowls, the only Super Bowl that we did not win. So Giant fans don't really talk about this Super Bowl too much. It's kind of like the forgotten Super Bowl, but nonetheless, it was a good season, and we will finish up, and I'll talk more about it in a moment. But here we go. November the 5th at the Cleveland Browns. Then we have November the 12th against the Rams. Then we have November the 19th against the Lions. November the 26th against the Cardinals. December the 3rd against the Redskins. And then we have December the 10th against the Steelers. And moving on, we have our annual away game at Dallas. This is December 17th. And then we have December the 23rd against the Jaguars. Okay, so we make the playoffs in 2000. The first round of the playoffs, we play the Philadelphia Eagles. And that game would be right here. We beat the Eagles 20-10. If you recall in this game, Jason Sehorn had a ridiculous interception return for a touchdown where the ball tipped off his knee, his hip, his hand, his head, everything. And he kind of like rolled around on the ground, picked it up, and ran it in for a touchdown. And then to start the game, right off the bat, Ron Dixon. Ron Dixon starts the game off with a touchdown, a kickoff for a touchdown. What a way to start off a playoff game. Opening kickoff, playoff game, crowds going crazy, waving towels, going bananas. And then this guy takes the opening kickoff and runs it back for a touchdown. The roof just came off the place, even though there is no roof, but I digress. Here we go. Next round, we play the Minnesota Vikings and absolutely destroy the Minnesota Vikings. 41-0, and we advance to the Super Bowl. Kerry Collins had a career-high 5 touchdowns in this game. I believe they were all 4 of them were in the first half. He probably could have had 8 or 9 touchdowns if they kept throwing, but the Giants kind of called off the dogs and ran for most of the second half. This game was the best game that I have been to, regular season or playoffs, not including the Super Bowl, in person. This was just a dominating performance from beginning to end. The Vikings never stood a chance. The Giants were ahead 14-0 before you could even sit down in your seat. Just amazing performance. And unfortunately, maybe that performance gave the Giants a little bit, too much confidence, because we all know what happened the following week, or the following 2 weeks, when we went down to the Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl ticket here, where we lost to the Ravens. But, a good season, nonetheless. You never like to lose, especially in the Super Bowl, but it is what it is. Here is a full ticket from Super Bowl 35 that I was able to pick up. This has the bottom portion that the other one did not. So this is a real nice piece right here. So that's 2000. Now we go on to 2001. And we're going to start off 2001 over here against the Jaguars, August the 16th. Nice full ticket here from 2001. Then we have the Jets over here. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens, who we just lost to in the Super Bowl. Nice. Very nice of them to put world champions right on the ticket. Very nice. Then moving on, we have the obnoxiously large ticket from the New England Patriots. Humongous ticket. Look at this thing, right? This is a preseason game. Huge ticket. Adam Vinatieri is on the ticket. Very interesting. He will have a nice career, as we all know. Now we move on to our regular season games. Okay. So we're going to start down here with this one. This is September the 10th. And as we all know, the events that took place the next day on September 11th. This was the night game the night before, Monday night. I remember this very, very vividly in my mind. I stayed up to watch this game. I was in college at the time. I stayed up, watched the entire thing. The Giants did not play very well. And so I went to bed very unhappy. But, regular season game. Then, obviously, the next morning, I got the news, and the world changed in a blink of an eye. So that was the game right before 9/11, and then, obviously, games were canceled the next week after this. This was also the first game, as you can see here, at Invesco Field in Mile High. The next week's game was canceled. It was supposed to be against the Packers, so they moved that to the end of the season. So, The next game after 9/11 was right here against the Kansas City Chiefs on September the 23rd. And I remember this so clearly. When the Giants came out of the tunnel, the Chiefs fans, and props if there's Chiefs fans watching this right now, when the Giants ran out of the tunnel, standing ovation from the Chiefs fans. I thought that was extremely classy move, and they are great fans in Kansas City. But that just showed you, right there, what good fans they truly are. So props to the Chiefs fans out there. This was the first game back. Giants won it, and it gave us something to kind of look forward to after the devastation that took place with 9/11. Moving on, we have September the 30th, 2001. This was our first home game after the 9/11 attacks. This one, Michael Strahan had 3 sacks, and he would go on to break the sack record this season. So he had a couple of great games this year. October the 7th, 2001 against the Redskins. Then we have October the 14th at St. Louis, and you can see there Strahan had a career high in this game with 4 sacks. So a nice game for Stray. Then we have October the 22nd against the Eagles. October the 28th at the Redskins. November the 4th versus Dallas. November the 11th at Arizona. November the 19th at Minnesota. November the 25th versus the Raiders at home. Then we have at Dallas, December the 9th, 2001. Reba McEntire on the ticket. That's interesting. Then we have December the 15th, 2001 against the Cardinals. December the 23rd, 2001 against the Seahawks. And then December the 30th, and Strahan was getting close to the sack record, and this game really, really made it close. He got 3.5 sacks in this game, and then everybody was starting to talk about him breaking the record and so on and so forth. So the final game of the season was this Packer game, which was supposed to be the first game, as you can see with the 1 there. They moved it to the end of the year. It was played on January 6th. Due to the attacks, Strahan did set the single-season sack record against Brett Favre. Kerry Collins had a career high of 386 yards passing in this game. He also had a career high of 59 attempts and 36 completions. So that kind of gets a little overshadowed, obviously, with the Strahan breaking the sack record and everything. But he did set those records in 2001. 2001, we ended up with a 7-9 record. Obviously not very good coming off a Super Bowl season. But we move on. 2002. In 2002, we drafted Jeremy Shockey in the first round, tight end out of Miami. And it was a position that we needed at the time. And Shockey was very good for a short period of time that he was with us. Unfortunately, injuries and some other things led to his departure, but he was good when he was here for the short time. This is our first preseason game against the Patriots, August the 10th. This is one of the few games that I'm missing from this decade. From 2000 to 2009, I believe I'm only missing about 5 games, preseason and postseason included. So this is one of them right here. The next game is against the Jets, August 24th. Then we have the Ravens again in the preseason. The 49ers at home to start the season, September the 5th. The Seahawks, September the 22nd. And then these tickets here were a little bit too big to be placed in chronological order, so I just have them on this page. This is the first game that the Houston Texans ever played. It happened to be against the Giants. This is the Hall of Fame game that they do every year. This is August the 5th, 2002. This was Texans against the Giants. Again, very first game for the Texans. And then this ticket here is just too big to fit in the regular slot, so I had to put it here. This was September 15th, 2002 against the Rams. And you can see the ticket right there, Marshall Faulk on the cover. So that's why those are there. All right, then we have September 29th, 2002 against the Cardinals. We have the away Dallas game, October the 6th. October the 13th at home for the Falcons. Then we have here the Philadelphia Eagle game, This was, there's no date on here, but that's the next game in the order. This is the home game against the Jaguars, November the 3rd. And then this is the Minnesota game, which was the following week, November the 10th, 2002. Okay, this is another situation where the tickets were too big. This is these are two preseason games that were never disconnected from each other. This is how season ticket holders get their tickets. They are, connected. So I just kept them together like this. And that's why they're on this page. I don't want to separate them, so I leave them here. Then here we have our regular season game against the Texans. So we played them in the Hall of Fame game, and then we played them here on November the 24th, 2002. So this was our first game against them. Obviously, it was their first season. Then we have the home game against the Redskins, home game against the Titans, away game against Washington right here. Sam Huff happens to be on the ticket, huh? How interesting. Then we have the home game against the Cowboys, and then this game against the Colts. 44-27, we won the game, as you can see there. And Amani Toomer had one of his best games of his career. 10 catches, 204 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Not too shabby. Peyton Manning also obviously played in this game. He threw for over 300 yards. Marvin Harrison had like 150 yards. So it was an aerial display and a lot of points and a lot of entertainment in that game for sure. Then we had the home game against the Eagles, December the 28th, 2002. Tiki had 203 rushing yards, 8 receptions, 73 yards receiving, and we won the game 10-7. This was the game where we had to win to get in the playoffs, and I believe, if I remember correctly, Jeremy Shockey caught a touchdown pass in this game over Brian Dawkins. I think that was the back page of the Post the next day. I may be wrong, but I kind of remember that from this game. So we win 10-7, and then we advance to the wild card round against the 49ers and this disaster. So this is the game where we had the humongous lead, and our team was clicking on all cylinders. We were playing so well. Toomer again with a huge game. 8 catches, 136 yards, 3 touchdowns. This was the biggest blown lead in New York Giants history. Since 1925, we hadn't blown a lead by this many points. And the 49ers came back and they won 39-38. Obviously, we're not going to talk too much about this because we could talk about the missed penalty at the end and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to see more about this, I'm sure there's plenty of videos on YouTube and stuff. But that was that game, and that was the end of the season. So we lost. We bounced back with a nice 10-6 record, even though we lost in the wild card, and we move on to 2003. Now, 2003, we draft David Tyree in the 6th round from Syracuse. We draft David Deal in the 5th round from Illinois, and we draft Osi Umenyiora in the 2nd round from Troy. So building through the draft made the Giants a winner in years to come, something that we need to do for the team right now. So, this was the first game of 2003 against the Patriots, August the 7th. Again, another humongous ticket. And these tickets from 2003 are obnoxious. This is my worst. I can't stand these tickets. I think the design was horrible. These are my least favorite design of all of the tickets that I have. 2003, awful. But we'll look at them anyway. August 15th against the Panthers, first preseason game. This game right here was against the Jets, preseason game. This is the away game against the Ravens, another preseason game, and then we start the regular season. Michael Barrows on the ticket for game number 1 against the Rams, September 7th, 2003. And then it just so happens that in the second game, right here, Kerry Collins is on the cover against the Cowboys. Michael Barrows sets the Giants record for tackles in a game with 17. So that was game number 2. Then we have the at Washington game right here. That was the following week. Then we have the Dolphin game right here on October the 5th. Then we have another humongous Patriots ticket right here, game number 3. This is October the 12th. Then we have the next game right here, which is against the Eagles, And, you know, I despise these tickets. I like that the pictures of the players are on here, but just everything about them is not really creative, in my opinion. Then next we have the Vikings away, which I'm missing. That's one of the few that I'm missing. Then we have the away game against the Jets, November the 2nd. Then we have a game against the Falcons at home. The Eagles on the road. This is the first season that they were at the Link. Then we have the Buccaneers on the road, right here. Joe Jurevicius on the cover. Again, another former Giant. Then we have game number 6 here against the Buffalo Bills. Game number 7 against the Redskins with Sean Williams on the cover. I believe in this game Bruce Smith broke the sack record for career sacks. And then it's been broken since then, but I remember that being at that game, and Bruce Smith, I think they stopped the game for a little bit and did a little ceremony for him. This is an away game against the Saints. And as you can see, now everybody's starting to get into these huge tickets, and it's just, I don't like it. Awful. Then we have Strahan, Strahan with another 3 sacks here against the Cowboys. This was 2003. And then the last game here is against the Panthers. And we finish up 2003 with a 4-12 record. Not very good. So terrible tickets and terrible season. Moving on. 2004, we draft Chris Snee in the 2nd round from Boston College. And this was the year where we drafted Phillip Rivers and then traded for Eli Manning. So now the tides are starting to turn. This is the first preseason game against the Chiefs. This is the Carolina Panthers preseason, 2nd game. And then this is the 3rd preseason game here against the Jets, August the 27th, 2004. All right. At the top here, we have our final preseason game against the Ravens, September the 2nd, 2004. And then we have this beautiful piece of paper right here. This is Eli Manning's debut against the Philadelphia Eagles, September the 12th, 2004. This was the very first game that he played in, and this is a very, very hard ticket to come by. I just actually recently got this, and I was very happy to get it, and that's it. And this, you know, that was the start of something big for us. Here was our first home game. This was against the Redskins, September the 19th. And this was not a good year for our Giants here. Eli was a rookie, and things did not get rolling for a while. But nonetheless, here's our game against the Browns. Here is a away game against the Packers. This was the next week, October the 3rd. Then I'm missing the at Dallas game, which would go right there. Here is the Lions game, October the 24th. Then we have at Minnesota, October 31st. Then we have home for the Bears. Then we have an away game against the Cardinals right here. And then this is Eli Manning's first start. The game against the Eagles, he did come in, just like Daniel Jones just came in against Dallas last year. And this was his official first start and his first touchdown against the Falcons, November the 21st, 2004. So this is another nice collectible to have. And then the following week against the Eagles. Again, you don't see any notes that say first win because he hasn't won yet. Away against Washington, still has not won. Away against Baltimore, lost again. Home against the Steelers, and this is an interesting one because Roethlisberger went head-to-head against Eli, December the 18th. I remember this game very well, being at it, all the terrible towels being waved, and the rookies going at each other, and Big Ben and the Steelers ended up being on top and winning that game. So now we get to the last couple games here. This is a game at Cincinnati, which is actually autographed by Tiki Barber. And then this right here is Eli's first win as a starter against none other than the Dallas Cowboys. January the 2nd, 2005. He led a drive at the end of the game, just like he did so many times. A nice fourth quarter comeback. And then that's when it kind of all clicked and when it all started. So we finished 2004 with 6-10 record. but we saw that things were coming around. We knew we had our quarterback, and we moved on to 2005. Okay, 2005, we draft Brandon Jacobs. We draft Justin Tuck. We draft Corey Webster. Again, big pieces in the Super Bowl run. And again, building through the draft and not signing every free agent under the sun. First preseason game against the Browns, August 13th, right there. Then our first home game against the Panthers, preseason home game against the Jets, and our annual preseason game against the Patriots. There you go. Okay, home game number 1 was against the Cardinals, September the 11th, 2005. Now, this right here, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit, and New Orleans, obviously, did not have a home stadium to play their games in because they were using the stadium for hurricane relief and to, shelter people and things like that. So this week, the Giants actually hosted the Saints at home, even though it was a Saints home game. And I attended this game, and it was so weird because the Saints had it was in Giant Stadium, obviously, but the end zones were painted black and gold for the Saints. The Saints logo was on the big screen. Everything was black and gold. You did not see one Giants thing anywhere. Obviously, all the fans were cheering for the Giants because it was in New Jersey. But they tried to make it a Saints home game, and it failed miserably because they were 80,000 screaming lunatics for the Giants. And there was a lot of people that did not have season tickets. And you were able to buy tickets on Ticketmaster for this game. And a lot of people that were dying to see the Giants hopped on and were able to see them. So this was a game that was attended by a lot of people that usually don't have season tickets. And this is the one game from Giant Stadium. Now, this is a season booklet from a New Orleans season ticket holder. So in this booklet, I've kept all the tickets attached. I'm going to take it out right here so you can see. This is the same game that would have been played in New Orleans. Obviously, they had to move it to New York, but this is the Saints version of the ticket, and I just showed you the Giants version of the ticket. So, obviously, this is a first for things like this. Only natural disasters or unfortunate events or things like this would something like this happen. But this is one of those times. And I've kept the rest of the Saints tickets in this booklet. I really don't want to remove them. So I just kind of keep it nice and safe in the binder right here. And that's that. All right, moving on with 2005. The next game we have is the Chargers, which was another interesting game because that was the team that Eli did not want to go to. So the fans were really pissed, and they booed him, and they made signs, and it was really, really a hostile environment. And the Chargers ended up winning the game. And the Charger fans have never really forgiven Eli for not wanting to go there. But I think it worked out well for us. We got our 2 Super Bowls with Eli, and the Chargers got none. So moving on. All right, the next home game is against the Rams. We had a big game here for Eli. He had 4 touchdowns. That was a decade high for touchdowns in this decade here. It was one of the 3 times that he would throw for 4 touchdowns in this decade. And Plaxico Burress had a career high of 10 receptions, 204 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So big game, big passing game for the Giants. Then the next game we had at Dallas. Then we have the Broncos at home, October the 23rd. Then this is the Wellington Mara game. So a lot of notable things here in this decade. This Wellington Mara, the Giants owner, passed away on October the 25th, 2005. And as you can see, this game is October the 30th, 2005. So he passed away 5 days before this game. And the Giants absolutely destroyed the Redskins, in honor of Wellington. Tiki Barber, who was very close to Wellington, rushed for 206 yards and a touchdown. I was obviously at this game, and you could have put the Giants up against the 85 Bears this game, and they would have put up 50 points. It was that dominating of a performance. There was no way the Giants were going to lose this game, and it was really, really, a good moment. You felt like Wellington was smiling up in heaven, and the team that he helped build and the organization that he helped build just kind of steamrolled one of their biggest rivals, and it was really nice to see. The next game at the 49ers, missing. Then we have home for the Vikings. We have home for the Eagles. And then at the Seahawks, which I'm currently missing. Then we have a home game against Dallas. The away game against the Eagles that year, December the 11th. And then we have a home game for the Chiefs, which Tiki Barber ran for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a really big year for Tiki Barber that year. Then we have our away game against the Redskins. And then the playoff game against the Panthers. Now, we lost to the Panthers 23-0 in the playoffs. We finished 11-6. And it was at this point where everybody was saying, oh, Eli, he's coming around. He's doing well, but he can't win the big one. They just got blown out in the playoffs, and he'll never win the big one. Well, we move on. 2006, first game against the Chiefs at home. Then we have the preseason game against the Jets. Preseason game against the Ravens. Then we wrap up the preseason again with our annual game against the Patriots. The first game of the season was Manning versus Manning. So Peyton Manning came into our house, and this was, I believe, the one and only time that they faced each other. The Colts won, so Peyton was on top for that day. Then we have an away game here against the Eagles, and Amani Toomer had a career high in this game, 12 receptions, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What was that game there? Then we have a huge, look at this thing. This is for a regular season game. A huge ticket for the Seahawks and the Giants. And look at this price. Seriously? $29? I wish there were $29. In comparison, look at the Giants. $85. Lovely. Unbelievable. Whew. Okay. So this was the next home game against the Redskins, and this year was kind of cool. They put all the World Championship team photos on each ticket, which I thought was a nice touch. This is the next game at the Falcons. Then we have 3 home games in a row here. We have the Buccaneers, the Texans, and the Bears. Our next game is an away game at Jacksonville. Then an away game at the Tennessee Titans, right here. And then we have our home game here, December the 3rd, 2006, against the Cowboys. And then we're getting to the end here of 2006. This is an away game with the Panthers. Then we have our home game against the Eagles, right here. And they put the rings now on the ticket. And then this is the Saints game at home, Christmas Eve, December the 24th. Okay, this wrapped up 2006. This was the away game against Washington. Most rushing yards in the game, Tiki Barber, 234, Giants record, right there. And then we came to the playoffs again. January the 7th, 2007, the wild card round. The Eagles beat us 23-20. Again, the same narrative. Oh, Eli can't win the big one. They finished the season 8-8, playoff loss to the Eagles, blah, blah, blah. Moving on to 2007. Super Bowl year for the Giants. In 2007, we draft Ahmad Bradshaw. We draft Steve Smith. And the rest of the players that were drafted in this class, Kevin Boss, Zach Diassi, all contributors. This was a very good draft and obviously good results at the end. This was how we started off this Super Bowl season against the Panthers. That was game 1. Then at the Ravens, game 2. At home for the Jets, preseason game number 3. And then, obviously, the last game, always the Patriots, game number 4. All right, first game, nobody gave the Giants a chance to win. And what I'm going to do for this, since the tickets are that way, I'm going to turn the book so we can go like this. There we go. All right, so nobody gave us a chance in this game. Dallas was, Terrell Owens and Romo and all the guys, right? Eli threw for 4 touchdowns. Burris caught 3 touchdowns. He had 144 yards in the air. We did lose 45-35 was the score, I believe, but we showed that we could hang a little bit. Dallas got a late touchdown in this game, which made the score a little bit, it looks like they won by more than they did, but it was a close game throughout. And, 45 points for the Giants to give that up is horrible, but, we did score a lot of points there. Then the first game at home against the Packers was not so good. We got blown out, and we were 0-2, and it was not looking good. Then game number 3 right here against the Redskins. This changed the whole season. We had a big goal line stand at the end to win the game, and then we went on a little bit of a roll here. So that game right here turned the whole season around. We lose that game, you're 0-3, forget it. You have no chance. Then we came home for a night game against the Eagles. Osi Umenyiora had 6 sacks, and we beat the Eagles to be 2-2. Then we went to play the Jets at home, another win. Then we won at Atlanta. Then we beat the 49ers at home, so now we're rolling a little bit. Then we traveled to London. This is the very first game that was ever played in London for the NFL. This is what the ticket looked like. October the 28th, 2007 against the Dolphins. This was a very ugly game. Eli Manning ran in a touchdown. It took him about 10 years to get in the end zone, but he eventually made it. And everybody else was slipping and sliding all over the field. It was a rainy, muddy mess, but the Giants ended up with the victory. Had the next week off, and then came home to face the Cowboys again. And we lost again in our red jerseys. And that kind of halted the winning streak, but we were still in the playoff hunt. Then this is the next game against the Lions. Strahan, 3 sacks. We did lose Matthias Kiwanuka in this game for the year, and I believe this is when Shockey got hurt as well. So, things were starting to come around. We beat the Lions, but then we come home, and we have probably one of the worst games of Eli Manning's career. I think he threw 3 pick sixes in this game. Just a horrible, horrible game, and it seems like the Vikings always have our number lately. After we destroyed them in 2000 in the playoffs, they've kind of beaten us pretty handily since. Okay, next was the Chicago Bears. Another ugly game. Eli threw a bunch of interceptions early, but then the Giants came back in the second half. I believe Reuben Drones had a touchdown run in this game, and we pulled it out at the end. It was a very, very ugly win, but a win nonetheless. Then we go to Philly. Then we come home for the Redskins right here. Another loss. So now the Eli haters are really, really starting to chime in, and we know that we have to win one of the next 2 games to get in the playoffs. And we have Buffalo and we have New England. New England is undefeated. So everybody knows we're not beating New England. So we had to win this game to get into the playoffs, this Buffalo game. And it started off very ugly. I think we had like -5 yards in the first quarter. But we ended up winning the game. Ahmad Bradshaw had a huge, huge run through the snow. I think like the decals on his helmet were falling off as he was running. Just an awesome second half to this game. Jacobs had a career high with 143 yards rushing. And we went on to win this game and clinch a playoff spot. So then we come play the Patriots at home. This was one of the best games that I've also been to in person. Even though we lost, the atmosphere was electric. This was obviously for the Patriots to go 16-0, and they did. They won the game, but the Giants played their asses off. They just played so hard, and they showed you that they could really hang with any team. And that loss really propelled them into the playoffs. And they played all their starters and everything, even though that they knew who they were playing in the first round. Now, this ticket right here that you're looking at, this is the Tampa Bay playoff game. This ticket is nearly impossible to get. And it's impossible to get because the Buccaneers started printing digital tickets at this time. And the only people that had paper tickets were these Stadium Club people, right? So I was recently, after all these years of trying to get this, and I figured it was a lost cause, but I was recently finally able to get this ticket. And that's one of the hardest ones to get, even going back to the 50s. With all the Giants' great championships that they've had, this one you never see, ever. So this one I'm very proud to have in the collection. And the Giants obviously won this game and advanced to the next round against Dallas. And we beat Dallas, obviously. It was one of the best Giants playoff victories ever. They were the 1 seed. And we went into Dallas after losing to them twice in the regular season and beating them. And it's always great to beat Dallas, but in the playoffs it's even sweeter. So this is a Ticketmaster version of what the ticket looks like. And then this is what a season ticket holder's ticket would look like. I don't have the season ticket holder. I just printed this off so you can kind of see what it would look like, but that's what the season ticket holder one would look like. Okay, now we advance. So after we beat the Cowboys, we come to play the Packers. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story here before we get to this Packer game. Since our family has season tickets, before this Packer game started, my family gets a letter in the mail that says, congratulations, you have been selected. If the Giants beat the Packers this Sunday, you have been selected to attend the Super Bowl as a season ticket holder. You've won the lottery, basically, right? Like the Giants lottery that they do. So all the Giants had to do was go into Lambeau Field and beat Brett Favre. That's all. No big deal. Yeah. So I had never been to a Super Bowl. My father had gone to the first Super Bowl, the one that they lost. But he had never been to a Super Bowl where the Giants had won before. So the pressure was on like crazy, right? And we're watching this game and goes into overtime because Tynes misses the field goal. And he misses the second field goal, and we're saying it's just not meant to be. It's not happening. That's it. We had our chances. Green Bay's just the better team. And when Corey Webster intercepted that pass from Brett Favre, I can't even describe to you the euphoria that went through my body and the excitement, because I knew that we almost had a chance. We just had to make one field goal to get to the Super Bowl. And when Lawrence Tynes came out for that third field goal, I was just hoping beyond hope that he would make this kick, not only for our fandom as Giant fans, but just so I can see a Super Bowl in person. And I knew that this was going to be one of the only opportunities in my life to get this chance. And when that ball went through those goalposts and I was watching the game with my father, it was one of the best memories, one of the best Giants memories that I'll ever have. And when that ball went through there, just, the embrace and the hug as that ball was going through, just knowing that we would be going to the Super Bowl was just amazing, beyond any feeling that I could ever describe to you. So then we went off to Super Bowl 42 to just face the undefeated Patriots. And here's the ticket from Super Bowl 42. And this is a blue version of the ticket. This is a gray version of the ticket right here. And then I also thought I had a third one. Maybe I don't. I think those are the two. So as you all know, we win Super Bowl 42. And being at that game with my father, the best sports memory ever. You cannot beating the undefeated team in the biggest game, on the biggest stage, live in person in another state. It's just, this topped everything forever, and it will never be broken. And then just really quick, after the game, we are celebrating in the parking lot, the Super Bowl, and a random Giant fan and his girlfriend, their wife, come up to us because we're Giant fans, and they start celebrating with us, and they invite us to a steak place on them. and they just say, "Come on, we won the Super Bowl. Let's go. We're Giant fans. I'm buying." And they bought us, steak dinner, and we just celebrated with Giant fans. Didn't even know the guy's name, didn't know anything. He paid for the dinner, and we asked, what can we do? He said, "When you get back to Jersey, I'm not from the area. I live, I moved, but I'm still a Giant fan. When you get back to New Jersey, mail me all of the newspapers, all of the Super Bowl winning newspapers. That's all I want." So when I got back home to Jersey, I got all the newspapers. I mailed them out, and that's just the camaraderie and the fandom is unbelievable. So after that, how do you top that, right? After that, we go to 2008. We draft Mario Manningham. We draft Terrell Thomas. This was our first preseason game against the Lions. Then we come home, preseason game against the Browns, and then preseason game against the Jets. The last preseason game was against the Patriots again, as usual. Home game number 1. Plaxico had 10 receptions. David Tyree's helmet catch is right on the ticket. Obviously, that helped us win the Super Bowl. And the second game was against the St. Louis Rams, which is right here. And the Rams actually printed a bunch of tickets. This was one of them. And here are the rest of them. They printed different versions of the ticket. And these are all Giants tickets, as you see. But they have different pictures on them. And I was able to get all of the different pictured tickets for that game. So this is Game 3, 2008 for the Rams. Okay, game number 2 against the Bengals. Game number 3 against the Seahawks. And then this was one of the losses in 2008. We started the season 9-1. We were rolling right along. It was looking like we were going to get a repeat championship. This was, just a bad game that we had against the Browns. We should have won. It was a Monday night game. We never usually play good at night. But then the next week we came back against the 49ers and beat them. And we beat the Steelers October 26th. And then we beat the Cowboys. I mean, we were just rolling along here. No problem. We, Eagles, away game right here. We beat them too. Then the next game was against the Ravens. And then this was it. The away game against the Cardinals. This was the final game for Plaxico Burress. Then, the Plaxico Burress incident where he shot himself in the leg in the nightclub, and that was the end of the season. We started off 9-1. We ended up 12-5. So it went downhill from there. We beat the Redskins the following week, and then it just collapsed from there. It's funny, Plaxico is on the next ticket, obviously, right? Like, how does that work? We lose to the Eagles, then the Cowboys. I think we lost that game too. The Panthers game we won. Brandon Jacobs had a career high with 3 touchdowns. That was in overtime. And then the Vikings game we lost, but in all fairness, in that game we rested everybody because we had the playoff spot locked up. So a lot of, Carr played in that game at quarterback. I think Eli only played 1 quarter. And then this was the playoff game against the Eagles, 23-10. We lost in round 1. We were the number 1 seed, and we lost by 13 points at home. And again, after the Plaxico incident, just went right downhill. And then our last year of the decade is 2009. Because Plaxico shot himself, we had to go get a wide receiver, and we did. In the first round, we drafted Hakeem Nicks. And he would play a big role in the next couple of years here and in our next Super Bowl, Super Bowl 46. This is our first preseason game against the Panthers. And the reason why the stadium's on the ticket this year is because this is the last year of Giant Stadium. So in our next video, we will go into the new stadium. So game number 2 is right here against the Jets. And then our final game against the Patriots, as usual, September the 3rd, 2009. Okay, let's see, how are these? All right, so this is the first home game against the Redskins. This was the debut of Hakeem Nicks and also the debut of Brian Arakpo on the Redskins. Then we have opening night for Jerry World right here. Inaugural season, and the Giants won that game. That was a very memorable game, knocking them off in the first game at that stadium. Then we have Tampa Bay. Nice ticket for Tampa Bay, September 27th. Then we have away game against the Chiefs. Home for the Raiders. Away game at the Saints. And then we have a home game for the Cardinals with all of the great Giants players on that one. Away for the Eagles. Home game for the Chargers. Home game for the Falcons. This was November the 22nd. Then we have a Thanksgiving game against the Broncos right here. Home game against Dallas. Home game for the Eagles right there. An away game against the Redskins, December the 21st. And then this right here would be the final game at the old Giant Stadium. So this is a pretty cool ticket. And it says Tribute to Giant Stadium with the years, 1976 to 2009. And then it's got all the Giant Stadium firsts on it. You know, first preseason game, first regular season game, first playoff game, and all that, right? So pretty cool. Highest home attendance, 2004, which is interesting. Opening night, 2008, right? That was the first game after the Super Bowl win. So a lot of good memories in this stadium. I'll tell you, you know, growing up and going to the games in this stadium, those were the fondest memories that I have. Even though, you know, I was a young kid when they won the first Super Bowl, but a lot of good memories. And then, you know, I was able to understand the game a little bit better in Super Bowl 25 and that whole run, and just a lot of good memories. And that's what it's all about here. That's why I keep these tickets, and it's just so nice to go through and remember these games and remember the memories that you have. So I appreciate you you all hanging in there. I know this was a little bit longer of a video than the previous ones, but there were a lot of good memories and a lot of good things to talk about in this decade. And we just hope that the Giants can turn around what we're going through right now, and hopefully, you know, we can draft well and get the team back to where we were just a few short years ago. So I appreciate you all hanging in there for this. I hope you enjoyed looking at the history and the tickets, and I hope you'll join me next time when we talk about the next decade in our series here. So have a good night, and go Big Blue.